What's up, guys? Jeremy Carroll here from Movieguide, and we're on the set of The Chosen. Check out the full set tour on our Instagram, but here are some interviews with the cast and crew. Every season has a theme that runs through it, and in season 3 we had Jesus kind of with his health ministry, healing ministry, and James kind of questioning that and asking Jesus. Is there any kind of underlying theme that's really going to resonate with audiences in season 4?
Yeah, it's funny. Season 3 had a pretty clear theme of "Come to me, you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." We just saw so many people who were weary and heavy laden, and Jesus providing this rest for their souls. Season 4, I've struggled a little bit to know what this theme is, but I've started to realize Jesus is a little weary and heavy laden in season 4. We see that multiple times. As we approach Holy Week, Jesus is getting increasingly sad, not because he's going to die, but because the disciples, the people that he's with every day, the people that he's surrounded himself with, aren't getting the point. It's funny, when you read scripture, you forget sometimes that he actually told them specifically what's going to happen. He goes, I'm going to die. I'm going to be handed over to the authorities. I'm going to die. I'm going to resurrect. He told them everything, and they were like, yeah, interesting. So where do we rank in the group? And, hey, can we be on your right and left hand in heaven someday? And he was saddened by that. He wept over Jerusalem as he approached the city because of what they were missing. And the religious leaders, his woes, woe to you, the Pharisees who were missing the point, his own people struggled to see him for who he was, and that saddened him, and we explore a lot of that in the season.
You've talked about loaves and fish, bringing your loaves and fish.
I'm wearing a shirt that,
you got the shirt,
and you even
got it
see
right there.
The little loaf and the fish
There
in
you
the
go.
ensign, yeah.
So what loaves and fish do you think that has been brought to the table this season, and have you seen it come to fruition in special ways that you haven't expected?
Yeah, see, our job is to make sure that we're focused on the 5 and 2, which is every day when I come to set, I am concentrating on 5 loaves and 2 fish, and how it impacts the audience, any criticism or praise I might get, who's going to enjoy or not enjoy this is completely irrelevant. God's got that in his control. The multiplication of the loaves and fish are up to him. Now, it is fun when we sometimes see, look, I'm bringing my loaves and fish and something unexpected happens. Or this year, have learned some new things. My fish might be a little bit better this year than they were last year because I fished into new waters, and that comes with new stories that we're telling. I was sharing this with someone else about how the fact that this season, covering some of the sadness of Jesus, is such a delicate issue that I don't think we would have been able to do season 4 several years ago. I think I needed some of those seasons to mature as a filmmaker, to mature as a storyteller, and to know Jesus more and to understand the stories better, to be able to capture and portray some of these delicate moments, like how would Jesus react when he's angry? How would Jesus react when he hears about his cousin getting his head chopped off? Some of those things I think are different loaves and fish than I'm used to, and I think that's a healthy thing.
Mm-hmm. It seems like the first 3 seasons we've kind of been gathering Jesus' followers and kind of getting introduced to everyone. Now it kind of seems like things are starting to hit the road a little more. Can you expand on where the direction might be going without any spoilers?
Yeah. Well, physically, literally, they're headed towards Jerusalem over the course of the season because the season ends with them about to approach Holy Week. So physically, that's literally true. Is they somewhere in this season, they've done about all they can do in Capernaum. They've reached all the people they need to, and now it's time to go together, not split up 2 by 2, but they're going to go together into uncharted territory. So we're not. That's not a spoiler to say that they're starting to physically expand. And again, as you see in each season, the number of people who are following Jesus expands. And now word is reaching the Sanhedrin in Jerusalem. What does that look like? Are there any people who are in the Sanhedrin who like Jesus or might be open to it? We start to expand the scope of the message. It's reaching new people, even when Jesus and the disciples aren't present. And the consequences of that are certainly something we explore.
For you, starting up from like the day you signed up for The Chosen, kind of this interesting project, are you anywhere near where you imagined you would be today?
Oh, nothing's changed for me. I'm just, yes, everything's different. Everything's different. Like the show has sort of impacted nearly every aspect of my life. I mean, it's nice to have a job, but that's like the least sort of seismic change in my life. You know, I earlier in this season, I got to be on set while my castmates were doing a really incredible and really touching scene. And, you know, just to be around that kind of art, you know, live and in the flesh, it's hard not to be genuinely inspired by that. So, you know, there's some satisfaction in my professional life. There's also a great deal of satisfaction in my performing life, right? Because I get to watch my incredible castmates do incredible things. And I also feel like I've really gotten to satisfy, or at least explore, my sort of driving force as an artist, which is to really bring people together. And this show has done that in amazing ways. You know, we're on nearly every streaming platform in dozens of countries and dozens of languages. And all of these people don't have the same viewpoints, but they're all coming together around this show. And that is, I feel extraordinarily grateful and honored to be a part of that.
And then for your character, I feel like things are really starting to heat up. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, you know, in seasons 1 and 2 and 3, Quintus sort of got to act unimpeded, right? He kind of got to do whatever he wanted. I mean, obviously, Jesus is gaining influence and followers and all of that stuff. But that seems more like an annoyance as opposed to being like, you know, kind of genuinely consequential. And in season 4, there are consequences, and they are very, very real. And I think that they're big enough to maybe even to break Quintus. I don't know. The rubber meets the road for the show, and it does for Quintus too.
Go ahead and walk me through your process for like getting into your character and like really embodying what Rama's going through.
It depends on the scene, but usually the way I like to prepare is I give Dallas a high five. That's how I start. It's sometimes I have a playlist going, again, depending on the scene. So I'll get into that as well. And yeah, I think it's just a lot of it doing all that work at home and then bringing it here. I have a notebook that sometimes I'll reference, but yeah, just incorporating all those things whenever it's called for.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the day you signed up till now, is The Chosen anywhere where you would expect it to be, where it is now?
No. Oh my gosh. I'm not where I expected to be right now. I was not expecting to be here talking to you, Jeremy. So it's been cool you really just have to go on the ride. I feel like there is no planning. I mean, you can, you know, try and plan if you want to, but it did not work for me. And it really has been a fun journey to just go along for the ride.
How has your experience with the Holy Spirit really impacted your performance and your interaction with The Chosen as a whole?
I feel him all around 24 hours a day, and I've really understanding now what it means to have a relationship with him compared to just praying off into the ether distance without really feeling him around. It's so easy now. It's so easy. I say like I'm not acting the scene, like he's acting me. And it's those moments in between action that I actually wait for to get to share with people this miraculous thing that I never thought would happen in a million years to me actually happened, because right before booking The Chosen, I had a conversation with God, and I told him, you probably don't even exist because of all the things that we all go through in life, and we assume that if you were here, you wouldn't let this happen to me. So it's been miraculous.
And Dallas talks a lot about bringing loaves and fish and letting God do the rest. Have you kind of seen that be true through production for this season? Has God kind of led you guys down an amazing path, or?
I'd say amazing, mind-blowing, spectacular. And it's a different path that I did not anticipate when I decided to go into acting. I did it on camera-wise. I started off in voiceover, and then I decided in my mid-30s, I wanted to start doing on-camera acting. And in my mind, I pictured just doing mainstream things. And lo and behold, I didn't realize how God would use a project like this to start making it mainstream. And then it made me realize, well, wow, God is mainstream. God is everywhere. So he's mainstreaming all over the place. So it's been unbelievable how one film that Dallas wrote and shot and directed as the birth of Christ was taken and multiplied into what it's become now.
That's awesome. And then go ahead and walk me through like how your character specifically will be growing over the season without any spoilers.
Yeah.
But how are they going to be stretched and pulled like spiritually and physically on this season?
It's really fascinating what happens with Zebedee, because originally he starts off as, slated for one episode, and then from there he kind of crept in along with the rest of the gang. But he's going to face unforeseen challenges that he wasn't even expecting, and something that's actually going to blindside him as well, as far as how rapidly certain situations will be escalating and what it's going to mean for him to be involved with that. So it's been very exciting to be involved with.
I think one of the most unique things about The Chosen is we've seen Bible stories over and over and over, but the women really get featured in this, which is a great thing. I don't know if you both want to answer on that, but it just seems like a unique take. And for season 4, I'm sure it's no different.
Yeah, no, for sure. With season 3, there was so much happening and so much, just the storyline of what women uniquely go through, the bleeding woman, where Jesus publicly heals her and assures her that, she is seen and that she is his daughter and that she is so loved. And then with the struggle that Eden goes through with losing a child, and it's just so relatable. I think that's what makes the show so incredible. The humanity that's just there. It's there in the writing, and we are just so blessed to get to do that and play that and be elevated and get to tell these stories that are so unique to women.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think there's also a universality about the stories. Women are still struggling with many of the issues that the show portrays, and how these women may have been behind the scenes, sort of, and yet their work is just as impactful as the men's, and their courage and their they become this inspiration for us as well as the men.
And Dallas talks about a lot about bringing your loaves and fish and kind of like God handling the rest, or everything else being taken care of. Have you seen that come to fruition with season 4 already?
Well, I think with the whole thing, I was listening to a talk the other day where they said that's what faith is allows you to move into the unknown. If you already knew what was going to happen, you don't need faith. Faith is how you get up in the morning and say, I have faith that today's worth living, that there's something ahead for me. So with this show, all we can do is do our best and leave the rest, And so, so far we've got a really great track record.
And what's the growth trajectory for your character this season?
Well, at the end of season 3, we see Shmuel finally catch up and confront Jesus after 3 seasons of being skeptical, then being convinced he's a false prophet, and then actively trying to get him held accountable for this false prophecy. And then he actually gets to meet him face to face at the end of season 3, and then they go up a hill to pray together, and that's kind of a cliffhanger for our relationship. And so in season 4, we actually get to see how that impacted Shmuel. So I think anybody who is following Shmuel's story with interest is going to be pleased to see that there was an impact there.
Talk me through your process. What's your process for getting into character and getting into the mindset?
A lot of homework, a lot of memorization before I ever arrive to set. I try to be ready to do any scene on any day. My first day of work this season was I got the scripts a little later than I wanted to, but my process is a lot of homework, a lot of work, but then the night before, I sit down and I write a lot. I write about what things mean to me. I make everything mean something to Kirk. So I write that out ahead of time, and then I review that the night before. I go to bed, I'm in the bed, and I read my notes. I read through the scene. I think about it. I read a little bit from the Bible, and then I go to bed, and then I get up, and I take a run. If it's 4 a.m., if we have an early call, I'll be running at 4 a.m. As I'm running the lines in my head. And then as I drive to set, I do a vocal warm-up that I did like when I was in graduate school. And then when I come to set, I am just like ready to go. Let's roll. Let's do this, you know. So that's kind of the process.
And for your character, we've seen him come a long way so far. There's much more for him to go. I don't know if you can expand too much more, but where's his trajectory going to head into season 4?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that, you know, let's oversimplify it. Rome and the Jews, right? And so I'm over here on this side of the street in this camp, and ever since the Sermon on the Mount, I've been like looking that way. And I'm coming to terms with this and looking at Jesus and his message, understanding what's at stake. If I go there, am I going to get killed? There's the sacramentum that you take with Caesar and Rome. It's like a contract, right? If I go over here, I could lose everything, my family, everybody, my everything, my status. So it's dicey, but clearly Gaius is, like, what did he say? He said, treat each other respectfully. Oh, be kind. Oh, all these things are making sense. Also, I know I'm talking a lot on this, but there's a pantheon of gods over here. There's one over here. That just makes so much sense to me.
Now, I hear there's some pranksters in the cast. Have you having any stories with those guys or anything?
The pranksters are not just in the cast. They are in the crew as well. And my favorite prank so far, it's not really a prank. It's just maybe, actually now that I'm about to tell it, it may even be a little bit creepy, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So there was one, and they said, hey, Brandon, can you kind of furtively take a picture of yourself with this crew member in the background? And I was like, yeah, it's weird, but yeah. So I did, right? And so I took the picture, and the crew member was in the background. And I sent the picture off to the person who asked me to do it. And then I looked, and that person had hundreds of pictures with everyone in the cast taking pictures of themselves with this one crew member in the background. And I just thought, like, that is either going to be really, really funny or terrifying to that person. So I just want you and everyone else watching to know it's not just the cast who are pranksters. It is the crew as well.
If you enjoy videos that follow your values like ours and you want to help us continue, go to movieguide.org/donate, because we're actually a nonprofit. You may not know that, but we're working in Hollywood every day to help families have more choices that follows their values. And also subscribe right now.